Imagine a man surviving the impossible, a 3-foot iron rod blasting through his skull and out the top of his head. That man was Phineas Gage, a railroad foreman in 1848 Vermont, known for his reliability and skill. Miraculously, Gage survived the accident. He sat up, spoke, and even walked with help. But the real story began after his body healed. The man who got up from that accident was not the same man who started his workday. Gage had been a model employee, shrewd, capable, and respected. After the accident, his personality changed completely. The dependable foreman was gone, replaced by someone impulsive and unpredictable. This transformation forced science to confront a terrifying question. If your memories and abilities remain but your personality vanishes, are you still the same person? Gage's case became a landmark, revealing the physical basis of identity. His story is more than a medical curiosity. It's a profound exploration of what makes us who we are. The iron rod didn't just destroy brain cells, it shattered our understanding of consciousness. It showed that character and spirit are rooted in the brain's physical structure. Gage's survival was a miracle, but his transformation was a revelation. His journey forces us to ask, is our self found in our body, our memories, our reasoning, or in the intricate wiring of our brains? The accident changed everything, not just for Gage but for science. It was the beginning of a long journey to understand the connection between the brain and the self. Gage's story endures because it asks the question, what makes us us? And what happens when that is lost? September 13, 1848, Cavendish, Vermont. Phineas Gage leads his crew, blasting rock for the railroad. The job is dangerous. Drill a hole, fill it with powder, add a fuse, then tamp it down with sand, except this time, the sand is missing. Distracted, Gage thrusts his iron rod into the hole. It strikes rock, sparks, and ignites the powder. The tamping iron rockets upward, entering Gage's left cheek, tearing through his brain and shooting out the top of his skull. The force throws him to the ground. His men rush over, expecting him dead, but Gage stirs. He speaks. He sits up, bloodied but alive. Dr. John Harlow arrives to find Gage conscious, recounting the accident, his brain exposed. Gage even greets the doctor with a joke. "Doctor, here is business enough for you." No one can believe it. A man with such a wound, alive and talking. The iron rod, slick with blood and brain matter, lies 30 yards away. The impossible has happened. Gage has survived a wound that should have killed him instantly. The scene is gruesome, but the real shock is yet to come. Gage's survival is just the beginning. The world is about to witness a transformation that will change science forever. The accident is a turning point, not just for Gage but for our understanding of the brain. In a single moment, a life, and the science of mind, are forever altered. The iron rod did more than pierce a skull. It opened a window into the mysteries of the self, and the world would never be the same. Dr. Harlow's first challenge was keeping Gage alive. Infection was the real killer in 1848. Harlow cleaned the wound, removed bone fragments, and fought off infection as Gage drifted in and out of consciousness. Against all odds, Gage survived. Within weeks he was walking and talking. Newspapers hailed him as a medical marvel, a man who had cheated death. But as his body healed, something else was happening. Gage's personality began to unravel. The responsible, well-mannered foreman was gone. In his place was someone impulsive, impatient, and unpredictable. He made plans and abandoned them. He became obstinate and resistant to advice. The balance between intellect and impulse had been destroyed. Friends and family saw the change. Gage was no longer Gage. He looked and sounded the same, but his character was that of a stranger. Survival had come at the cost of his identity. The iron rod hadn't just damaged his brain, it had carved out his very self. The miracle of survival was overshadowed by the tragedy of transformation. Gage's case became a mystery. How could a man live on, yet lose the essence of who he was? The world had a living, breathing man, but the person they knew was gone. The true cost of the accident was not physical, but existential. Gage's story became a warning. The self is more fragile than we ever imagined. Before the accident, Gage was reliable, respected, and self-controlled, a leader among men. Afterward, he was capricious, profane, and impulsive. He swore in public, ignored social rules, and couldn't hold a job. The old Gage planned for the future. The new Gage lived only in the moment. Friends lamented, he was no longer Gage. The physical shell remained, but the personality was gone. He became a wanderer, unable to settle or keep steady work. For a time he exhibited himself and his tamping iron as a curiosity. He worked as a stagecoach driver in Chile, a job that required routine but little social finesse. Eventually he returned to the US, his health failing. The man who had been a pillar of his community died in obscurity. Gage's later years were marked by instability, a direct result of the moment the iron rod rewired his identity. His story is a stark reminder: damage to the brain can erase the very qualities that make us who we are. Gage's tragedy was not just survival, but the loss of self. What had the iron rod done to Gage? In 1848, science had no real answer. Gage's case was a brutal experiment. Destroy part of the brain, destroy part of the self. The rod obliterated his prefrontal cortex, the brain's executive center. This area controls decision-making, planning, social behavior, and impulse control. With it gone, Gage lost his judgment and restraint. He became a ship without a rudder, tossed by every impulse. His memory and language survived, but his character did not. Gage's case was the first strong evidence that personality and moral sense are rooted in specific brain regions. The iron rod provided a gruesome window into the brain's workings. It showed that the essence of a person's character could be destroyed, leaving the body and basic functions behind. Gage's tragedy became science's revelation. The self, it turned out, was not mystical. It was physical and vulnerable. His story changed how we understand the mind forever. Phineas Gage died in 1860, likely from seizures related to his injury. His skull and tamping iron were exhumed and sent to Dr. Harlow, who studied them for years. Eventually they were donated to Harvard's Warren Anatomical Museum, where they remain today. Gage's skull became a cornerstone of neuroscience, proving that specific brain regions control specific functions. Before Gage, the brain was seen as a single, undifferentiated organ. His case linked frontal lobe injury to dramatic personality change. In the 1990s, scientists used neuroimaging to map the iron's path, confirming the damage was confined to the prefrontal cortex. Modern technology validated Harlow's observations. Gage's legacy is twofold: a symbol of survival and a gift to science. His tragedy provided the first solid proof that personality and judgment are rooted in brain tissue. Every modern study of the brain owes a debt to Gage. The man who was no longer himself taught us what it means to be human. His story endures as a lesson in the fragile connection between brain and self. Phineas Gage's story ends with a question, not an answer. If a person can lose their personality while their body lives on, where does the self truly reside? Gage's memories and body remained, but the man his loved ones knew was gone. His case forces us to ask, what makes you you? Is it memory, body, reason, or something deeper? Gage's story suggests identity is rooted in character, empathy, judgment, and connection. These qualities, destroyed in him, were the loss of his self. The you that you cherish is a fragile biological process, not an untouchable soul. Our essence is vulnerable, and injury or disease can erase the person we are. The self is a delicate state, maintained by the healthy brain. Gage's story is a permanent reminder of the deep connection between brain and soul. It compels us to ask, if your personality could be scooped out, what would be left? The answer is as haunting as it is profound.